Hey, legends, Fraser Brooks here, coming to you from Dubai with an absolute beast of a legend. Beast of a legend is like high up on the legend scale. He's definitely highest, not just in actual height, but legendary status height as well. It's Colten Echave.
Yes, you got it. You did great.
I've been stressing. Like literally since we decided to do this, like last minute, I've been like, oh, I don't know how to say it. I'm going to have to ask him. I know how to nail his first name, but the last one, I don't know. I got it good.
Yeah, you did great.
Yeah. Enjoying Dubai?
Yeah, it's great, man. Now I know why you live here.
You do, right?
Yeah, I was telling you in the car, like, I didn't get it, like, why people move to Dubai. I mean, yeah, the taxes, but then it's like, oh, I really fell in love with, like, the city, the culture, the people. So, totally.
Yeah, and you've only been here, like, 4 days? 4 days?
I think tomorrow, 6 nights we at the hotel. So.
Oh, nice, man. There's so much more to explore. So next time, I'll hopefully be able to have a little bit more time with you so I can help you kind of go to all these different places. So, mate, you've absolutely crushed it. It's been amazing. I've known you for a few years, and I knew you before from friends of mine who've hung out with you as well and talked so much amazingness. And it's kind of weird that we're now doing this interview after kind of hearing the stories years ago and then becoming friends with you. And now we're doing this. And it's my pleasure to be able to have you here. So let's go back before you've got to this situation. What were you doing before network marketing?
Yeah.
And like, how did you actually get involved in network marketing?
Yeah, so I was just in university. I was on a scholarship for volleyball at a pretty good school, Long Beach State in California.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, and then, once college was over, I was on the USA team for about 4 or 5 months every summer. So that was kind of that repeat cycle. But my mom was also a 6-figure a year earning network marketer since I was about 13. She started network marketing when I was 10. Within 3 years, part-time, built a 6-figure income, left her. She was a hairstylist.
Wow.
So I grew up with that culture, and she always paid me money to like read books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, How to Win Friends, Influence People. She got me the subscription to Success Magazine.
Oh, wow.
So I would read, with like Success Magazine, magazines, aren't normal now, but it would have like, for instance, like Tony Hawk, but it wouldn't talk about how he became great at skateboarding. It talked about how he built Hawk Enterprises. Or they'd have P. Diddy on, and it wouldn't talk about like how he, was a rapper, but like how he made money as a business owner. So I started seeing like, like all of these famous people have businesses. So I grew up knowing I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but first I wanted to be an Olympian, right? So I was like, but I always knew like because I always also knew like athletics only gets you so far, and I never wanted to be a coach. No offense to coaches, I just never saw myself being like a high school or college or Olympic coach. I just thought, I want to be an entrepreneur. I got, I didn't know what that looked like. Yeah. My mom's been trying to recruit me in her company since I was like 10. And
I get that.
Yeah. So, but the way I got introduced, so I'm 1 year left. I got some injuries now, and I'm kind of that old horse, who's taking painkillers to keep playing. And I knew that, I'm like, man, this isn't like I'm old now. I'm like 22, broken ankle, knee problems, shoulder problems, like neck problems from a car accident. And I have 1 year left. I have offers to go play in Europe, but I'm like, man, my body hurts so bad. I kind of want to take a year off. And right at that same time, my mom actually has a pretty severe autoimmune disease. And there'd be times where it was like really hard. She'd be like bedridden. Or not able to talk to me on the phone for like a month.
Wow.
Because she'd have so many canker sores that it would just like hurt to talk. So we'd just be like texting for a month. And during that kind of battle, my mom was going to a lot of different doctors to just get a solution. And a lot of the doctors were giving her like a pill, and it wasn't helping. So my mom started looking for ways to heal her body naturally. So she went to a naturopathic doctor. And that doctor introduced my mom to a whole bunch of different ways of eating, of, certain things. And one of the things she introduced was actually a product that my mom bought that was a network marketing product. And my mom had such great results with it. My mom didn't even know it was a network marketing product, so she's online learning about like, why am I getting these great results? And she goes, oh my gosh, it's network marketing. And she wanted me to, become a customer. So my mom tells me about it, and I thought it was a placebo. I was like,
right, of course.
But and the first time I'm like, oh, that's great, Mom. I'm so glad you're feeling better. In my head, like, it's a placebo. I'm like, it's okay. Like, eventually she'll stop talking about it. 2 months go by, she's still like on fire. And I'm like, Mom, it's a placebo. Like, stop talking about it. And then she's like, it's not. And I'm like, it is. And she's like, I'll prove it to you. And I'm like, no. And then there was like a meeting coming up, like a local event. You know, she lived in Florida during my college career, and I was living in California. So, 5-hour flight. But she's Googling meetings. And she's like, oh, there's a meeting like an hour and a half from Colten. She goes, hey, I want you to go here on Saturday to learn more about the product. And I'm like, Mom, you've been trying to recruit me since I was like 10. I'm like, no, And then she's like, well, who pays your cell phone bill? Oh. And I'm just like, that's how my mom got me to do stuff. She's like, she would turn off my cell phone when I was like a bad, son. So she literally was like, if you don't go, I'm not paying your cell phone. And I was a very broke college kid. Like I barely had enough money for food, during college. I was living in my friend's garage, all of us. Yeah, I was on the USA team and scholarship for university, but like I was stealing food sometimes to like feed myself, barely getting by. So I go there just to have a free cell phone. I understand why the product's working. I'm like, oh, this makes sense why my mom's feeling better. And I wanted it, right? It was really expensive. And then they showed us how to get it for free. So I was like, okay, I could see this. And then they had people share how they were making some big income. And I just remember there was a story. I was 22, but there was a 19-year-old kid, kind of chubby, nerdy, awkward, somebody who's not like the person who should be making money, right?
Yeah, right.
And he's like, yeah, last month I made 19,000. And I was like, and it's funny because like I was still a person that believed like people are trying to scam me. So I actually went up to him and I'm like, did you really like show me? And he pulled up his bank account. And he's like 19,000, like he deposited. And I was like, whoa. So I called my mom after the event's over, and I was like, Mom, we're gonna like crush this thing.
We're gonna get rich.
It's probably like midnight, where she's at. She's waiting up for me, you know what I mean? And I was like, this is like crazy. Like it worked for you. Like no one has it. The guy said it was a trend product that like no one has it. Everyone will own. Like the guy like sold. And the funny thing was the guy that I went to, he's actually the #1 presenter for the whole company.
Oh, wow.
Globally. So like globally, everybody uses his presentation, and I just got like sold into the vision. And I saw the comp plan. I'm like, Mom, like this, no one I know has this thing. Like everyone's got to get it. But
that's awesome.
I didn't have the money to join though. Yeah. So that was really hard. So I still remember, my mom, I was like, well, how am I going to do it? Like, I think I needed like $1,000, to join. And I had like probably less than $100 in my bank account. And I'm on it. My mom was giving me $300 a month, and my dad was giving me $300. So I was living off of $600 a month, but $250 was for rent money for my garage. And I was living off of $350 for food, and maybe some beer money. Cause I used to drink, in college. So I'm just like, this is not gonna work. But in my head, I just knew it. So I'm like, what can I sell? I just thought of this. No one told me. I was like, what can I sell? And I was like, I sold my Xbox, I was like, I don't need my Xbox. I'm like, and then I had like a guitar. I'm like, I sold my guitar on Craigslist, if you know what that is. They have that in UK.
We offer up
a little bit. The old school offer up. And then it was in July, right? So in my head, I'm like, well, my birthday's in November and Christmas is coming up.
Oh, nice.
So maybe I can call my aunts and my uncles and ask for like upfront birthday and Christmas money. So I call like 10 of them, right? Like distant aunts and uncles I don't talk to like ever. And 5 of them just like laughed me off the phone. The other 5 were like, all right, here's $40, here's $30, here's $50. I was like, all right, I got like, like $500 now, like, but I'm still like, I'm closer. That. And then at the time I was really good at volleyball. So, and I had a personal training certification. So even though I was in college and I had an internship, I picked up some personal training sessions on the side, some volleyball coaching sessions. And within about 2 weeks, I had money to get started.
That's absolutely what do you think you'd be doing if you didn't come across this?
I would be a naturopathic doctor.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like you are like 100%
for sure. Yeah. Cause my degree was going to be, I was going to be a doctor, but then once my mom had so much like lack of success.
Yeah.
So I remember I was like, well, I want to be an MD because of money. Right. And then I was like, well, what's the I wasn't a believer in Western-based medicine, pharmaceuticals and stuff. And I didn't really want to be a surgeon. So I was like, anesthesiology. They made great money. They put people under. And I always would look up highest paid doctor. And it was always like one of the top. So I actually cold called 10 anesthesiologists. And I got their numbers. And I called them and I was like, hey, I'm going to be a medical student. I love anesthesiology. Like, is it worth it? Because it's like 12 years of your life and debt. And like you go away and like don't see your friends basically, right? So, and none of them like sold me on it. And then once my mom got results from a naturopathic doctor, I looked up, there was actually a university called Bastyr University. And I was like really set on going. It was in Oregon, I think at the time. They had a San Diego campus that was opening up. I was like, I'm going. But it was funny because my mentor was my mom's naturopathic doctor. And I was talking to her and she goes, yeah, you don't want to be a naturopathic doctor. And like, that was like my dream was to be like, have a practice and clients like hers. And she's like, yeah, I really wish I could just build this business and like leave. I was like, she's like giving me doubts, right? She's giving me seeds of doubt to
Best
become.
props ever.
And I was just like, but she was a believer. And I'm like, why? And she goes, my overhead's $36,000 a month, my office, my employees, and it's a business. Like people don't think about it. It's an actual business because it's a full cash business. They don't accept insurance because it's naturopathic doctor stuff. And so she just broke down the business model and she goes, yeah, and it's really stressful. And I'm like, well, why do you do it? She goes, I just love my clients. And I felt like I was really wanting to be in the health industry because of the financial rewards. So that was really where it was at. It was either going to be that's where, but yeah.
It's absolutely crazy. And you're obviously grateful for where you are right now. It's wild to think that was the story now and where you are right now. One thing I love about you and your organization, that no matter where you seem to be around the world, and recently you've been all over the place. Obviously you're in California, and then you went over to Vegas, and you've come over to Europe, and you've been in Italy, and you've been in Dusseldorf in Germany, and now you're here in Dubai. But every time I see you kind of go to these different places, there's always team there. And we got Jason as well in the background behind the scenes here. Jason's crushing it as well. But like, there always seems to be a family who come with you, not just your like actual family, but like your network marketing family. How has that happened? Was that like, do you feel that happened on purpose from the very beginning? Is that something you've been having to work in? Because it's just amazing that there aren't many organizations that have a genuine family vibe where they will literally travel to different places together. They won't travel alone. They won't sleep. They won't like stay in hotels alone. They'll just always travel together. Like, how has that come? What have you done to make that possible?
Yeah, I think it might be unintentional. It hasn't been like an intention, like I must be friends, but I just genuinely like my team. Yeah. Obviously there's I think it's funny because I just think about, I don't know why it pops in my head. I said the reason I love network marketing is because if I don't like somebody on my team, I just stop calling them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so there are people that I don't like on my team, 100%.
Oh yeah.
But there's so many that I do that, and there's so many connection points out. There's so many people on our team that we just genuinely like would spend time with each other, whether we're working or not. I think that's why we do so well.
But there's also a lot of leaders out there who will force themselves to like people because there's a commission attached to it. But you're going the other way and you're like, hey, if I don't like that particular person, then I'm going to go and not replace them, but find someone else who I'm going to spend a lot of my time with as well.
I think maybe too, we built locally. We built like old school network marketers for my first 5 years. So I've been in 11 years, right? So my first 5 years was all locally. I didn't really like leave the Orange County, LA, San Diego, Inland Empire area. Because if you just go over that little section of California, there's like 13, 14 million people. Yeah. So it's like, why do you got to leave? So, but yeah, I think just so we had so many home events. And I think also too, I started a culture back when I first got going was the way that we got people to events was we would have social events. That's how we would prospect. Like I would have like a barbecue at a local park.
Love that.
Right. And I was like, hey, we would call it, I was so broke that would be called BYOM. Bring your own meat. Because I couldn't feed people. Right. So I was like, bring your own meat, and everyone, but I was like, and then we'd have like 120 people there. And I would just, we'd have 120 people there. And it was like a volleyball court. And we had the barbecues. We'd like reserve barbecues on the picnic tables. And everyone would just bring their own meat. And some people would bring like little potlucks. And then there we would meet people. And then we would, genuinely try to connect with them. And then invite them to an event we had like maybe that Thursday. So we had that like on a Saturday. And on Thursday we had an event. And we had such a high percent of those people that wanted to come. And I think also too, like one of my first business builders that really took us seriously was at the time, he was my best friend at the time. He was my beach volleyball partner on the USA team.
No way.
And I think, working really hard with like your best friend at the time, it changes the dynamic of, and I think I probably just like the way I treated him was probably similar to the way I treated everybody else.
Mate, it's so cool. I think I've seen like videos of like doing home presentations in the garage. Or you guys call it like a garage, I believe, right?
Oh yeah, we've done it everywhere.
Like just in a garage. Like, great, why not? It's a space. It's a good space. It's a great space. I remember when we were building, and we used to have about 80 people come on a Monday night to the house, and about 80 people come on a Thursday night. And it wasn't necessarily the presentation, but it was the after, when we were doing coffees and teas and just communicating. My mum and dad were living in a multi-million-dollar like mansion, so it kind of helped with that. But it wasn't just the presentation; it was the community aspect,
Totally, yeah.
the fun. That I need this in my life.
Yeah.
But I think as well that I always say that if you fall in love with your team, you get heartbroken, right? Because there's some times where you maybe clash and you feel bad, or they go somewhere else and you feel bad. But it's amazing to see that you've got the group love. It feels from the outside looking in. It's like the group love, and you do a lot of mentorship programs and masterminds together as a group. It's not just I'm going and I'm going to bring it back. It's I'm going, I'm taking my team, so that we're all going to take it back to the organization. How has that affected the business? Like you going to a mastermind with like 5, 10, 15 of your team. How has that had an effect on the level of vision, a level of belief in the organization?
Oh yeah, totally. It's just so people understand. Like we're in a network marketing mastermind where it's like 15, of our leaders have joined, and it's like about 30,000 a year.
Yeah.
So we like roll up. Yeah, we like roll up, and it's kind of like everybody's like the one person in their company, right? Jason's one of the members, right? Yeah, he knows. Like it's like the one person in their company, and there's like 15 people. Like we occupy the first 2 front rows. And everyone's just like, wait, like you guys are all in the same company? Like, no, we're all on the same team. You know what I mean? so that's been pretty cool because I think awesome. That was probably one of the best things I ever did. Because, and I think what really just kind of happened was I was at a point where I was just like fed up with like trying to motivate people. And I was like, and I knew what gave me my breakthroughs was relationships with people that were at higher levels. And those relationships were usually developed through VIP tickets at big events or other masterminds I've been in. But at the same time, I had like this fear that they were going to get cross-recruited. So I never really promoted other masterminds like that.
Right, good point.
But then I was like, you know what? Like, I believe there was just a point where I was like, you know what? I'm just got to bring so many people to this that it's just got to, I believe that even if they leave, they weren't my people.
100%.
They weren't my people. But I was like, wait, I have been involved for 11 years or maybe like 9 years back then. I was like, I haven't been cross-recruited. You know what I mean? Because I love my company. I love like my leadership. I love like all this. So I'm like, why would I, say that about them? And then I think them being around my network more, that leveled them up more than anything. And I saw these leaders who, it was so funny because like they thought they were big shots because we would overly edify them because they're our top people making $30K a month and they're speakers at our team events. And then they come to this mastermind. I remember the first thing that they did was like, all right, guys, everybody say what your income was last month. And I was like, yes. So, it comes to them and, people are like, it's like, oh, I made 200K last month. Like the room, like 200K, like 500K, like, oh, 100K. And then they're like, oh, I only made 30K. And I'm just like, yes, like that's good. Like you feel small again. Because when you feel small, 100%. You want to grow. So I think it gave people this perspective, like they thought they're at the top of the mountain, but there was actually a bigger mountain behind them that they never saw. That they're you're just right here, but they just realized there's so much more to grow. And I think I just gave them a gift of like an environment. I think I'm a big believer in like environments change people more than so how can I put them in an environment that's going to change them without me having to do a lot of the heavy lifting?
100%, man. Environment beats will. Like it's not the quality of the seed, it's the quality of the soil that you put the seed within. And I think it's amazing how you can literally knock someone down a little bit. They're like internal company, internal team, like I'm the big shot. They realize, whoa, I'm actually not a big shot in this game. But the right mindset is Like, what's possible? Then they go speak and they have lunch and everyone's got the same paper plates and they've got the same food on their plate. You know, some have got the healthy, some of them got not so healthy stuff. But the conversation they have with that person, they realize, wow, they're just a normal human being. There's nothing I see that much different about these people versus maybe the questions they're asking themselves, the amount of activity they've taken. So I love that you take people to the masterminds. And I also love what you said about like weeding out the weak as well. I think not enough leaders get their team into a situation where they have the potential to potentially lose some of the organization. I always say leaders don't quit. So if someone does quit on your team, they weren't potentially a leader in your organization.
Yeah.
But if you have a garden, there's weeds in it. If you just let the weeds grow, it'll overtake the garden, and it's not a good situation. So I love that you do that. So what's something that you've been, like when it comes to like strategy, what's something that you implement in your own business or you implement as an organization, as your community? What's something that's really worked that other people can maybe implement into their business?
Like in terms of like what part of our business? Like
I mean,
like recruiting, event promoting?
whatever you feel you're crushing it right now.
Yeah, I think something that I did that a lot of leaders haven't done, and this is like extremely high level, is just like your own team events.
Yeah, I love it, mate.
And it's a role. Like we were having 3 a year, which was actually, now it's too much. Our leaders like, yo, too much. Like we do 2. But at the time, our team actually needed 3 a year. But I just think like once, but before I just want to talk to a lower level leader first. Like you don't need to put on your own event at the very beginning. Like what I did for so many years was I would find a great event, but then I started my one day after event, right? So I remember I would plug people into. And it was an add-on event.
Yeah.
So the first thing you could do is go to an event and just have like a team lunch. That's like the lowest level, right? Cool. Everyone team lunch, maybe like an hour of just you speaking and talking, right? The next level of having your own event would be going to an event that you massively promote and then trying to call the hotel to see, is there like a small conference room the next day, right? And these are just things that like we're never trained on. Like you don't go to any event, and I never like got training. I just like kind of had to figure it out because I saw what other big people were doing, and then so I remember I did this one in Vegas when we had like, I think 60 people show up to our add-on event. Right. And then it kind of got to a point where our company wasn't having events for a while. And I was like, we need a team event. And it was like really stressful. I actually probably like lost 35,000 on my first event. Yeah. And that was when my income was lower because I had this like limiting belief of like charging a lot of money for the tickets. So I undercharged for the tickets and it just like really stuck me at the very end of the event. And I lost 35K, but I made it up in the team volume afterwards. And then now we break even on events. I love breaking even. I don't want to like profit off my team a ton, and I don't because I don't want to like make the tickets too expensive because I want it to be affordable. Because if they're too expensive, they don't show up. But I don't want to lose money. Like again, I messed up the last time too. I lost 40K in our last event. But I think
what happened after?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But now this is because I'm paying a lot of money for like guest speakers to come. Like yeah,
but it's also good as well. You get the relationship with them. And your team gets introduced. One thing that I love doing, one of my favorite things, is edifying what's already been taught. So not necessarily teaching something new, but like sharing stuff that you're already teaching to your team so that the team go, wow, and then they realize, hang on, Colten's been telling me this for years and years and years, but for some reason, like I've become numb to it. And then I come in and say almost the same thing, maybe in a different tune, different tone, and it's like bingo, bingo, bingo. I feel great because I'm getting the bingos, but they've already know it, and it edifies the organization as well. I love that you said this about the add-on event, because I'm literally working with the company right now, and they're like, oh, event attendance after COVID, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, it's a 2-day event. Great. Second day, you're not going to have a main stage. First day, you're going to have a main stage. The second day, you are going to literally get all the breakout rooms in the hotel, and you're going to say to the leaders in the company with their team, breakout room for you. You have 5 hours. Go and create it. But in an hour, whether it's the first hour, second hour, third hour, fourth hour, fifth hour, we will come as the corporate team and fill that hour. And they're just going to go and do the same thing, room to room to room, so that the leaders are actually stepping up and creating their own events for their own team.
Wow, that's also they're having different breakout rooms, and each leader is like at the same time simultaneously.
I'm teaching them to do. Yeah,
that's really smart.
So like from 10 a.m. till 5 p.m. they'll have the room. Everyone comes and has lunch together though. So 10 a.m. till 1 p.m., then 1 till 2, everyone has lunch together, then 2 till 5, they then go and do their own their own thing. So then the company then is teaching and training the leaders, because they're not at a higher level if they're not doing this add-on
Yep.
to get back into in-person events that aren't just run and relied on by the company, but they're actually doing their own thing.
Yeah.
So that's coming up. We'll see how it goes. But I know just from experience that this just, the fun thing is as well, if they do it right, hopefully they will, you kind of tactically go into one room when they're speaking and say, everyone make some noise, craziest ever as you can imagine, because all the rooms are connected in a way. Go crazy on 3, 1, 2, 3, and everyone just erupts, and they're like, what's going on in that team? Then it happens in their room, and then and the energy that's built within the halls and the hotel and the venue is just magical. So I'm loving that you're doing that. One thing's really cool though, is you've come over from the US to Italy. And in Italy, you had 700 plus people.
750 in person.
In Milan,
Milano Marittima.
Oh, good. I mean, I know your name's like Spanish, is some Spanish roots, but that was pretty good Italian as well, bro. And that was a team event.
Yeah.
So,
and we already sold, I think, 750 tickets for our next event in Italy in September.
And Italy's growing
a lot,
fast,
really fast.
Yeah. Events, man. Events.
It's events, but it's what you said. My first event, it was the Colten show, but it kind of needed to be because my team didn't know like structure. The second event, and now I speak maybe less than 10% of the time.
Wow.
At our team events.
So you're taking yourself out of the situation.
Yeah. I help, but the hard part is like I have to go over every single person's PowerPoint before.
Brilliant.
You know, I have to coach them on what to train on, how to tell their story. And then like, obviously they want me to see them speak so then I can give them feedback at the end.
Brilliant.
So it's actually a lot more work on me. And then not only what we did, you know, we incentivize people to speak based upon leaderboards of productivity. So 2-3 months before the event, we have stats of how many people you have coming to the event and what's your personal productivity. And then we show that on our team calls like, hey, the first 10 people are locked in. We have 5 more spots. And then if you don't make like the top usually 20 people get like a keynote. But then like the 20 to 30, we call it a power hour where, you know, we have maybe 20 people in like 1 hour and they just come up and then they share like their story in like 5 minutes and it gives them stage time, you know? So I think that's really helped. And then what I do at the very, very end of our event is if you buy at least 2 tickets to our next event, we allow you to come on stage and just kind of share your story and like what your goals are and just to get photos and just like kind of be in that environment of, you know, a few hundred people kind of looking at you.
Mate, I love that. We used to call them My Ways. So they were fillers in between, like 20 minutes, and in between there was 5 to 10 minutes. Big countdown. If you went over the countdown, you knew that you did naughty. And again, because I learned a long time ago that you can tell the success of a team depending on the number of presenters that you have. If you've got 10 people who can do a really great job of presenting the company, the products, or their story, or their training, a keynote, then you've got a good business. If you have 100 who can present like absolute beasts, then you can take your business anywhere and crush it. If 2 people get on stage and do one event, you're just gonna explode. So I love that you're doing that. Let's talk about that for a second. How are you helping them become better speakers? Because there is a massive, speaking on stage is a very important skill to master, but it's hard to teach as well. How are you allowing, because obviously your team feels safe and secure because you've got this vulnerable space where you're allowing people to share their wins, but also share their losses. Because when I see your events from the outside, especially the ones going on in the US, it's Italy. I can't speak the language, so I can't see any of the snippets. But the ones in America, when everyone comes on, they're celebrated like they're their best friend. And when they leave, they're applauded like they've given the world's greatest speech. What have you done? How have you enabled that to happen?
Yeah. I think like what we did last event is if you have like a 20-minute keynote, we're got to change it a little bit, but we're got to still have the 20-minute keynotes is, you know, the first half is going to be a story of a big challenge that you had to overcome.
Love that.
Maybe and some people the challenge was actually before our company because they came in and like had such fast success they're unrelatable. Some people it's got to be actually like a challenge during their business. Some people that like 3 of our speakers they actually shared a challenge after they hit the top rank. They hit the top rank and then their income dropped and that was their biggest challenge was to keep going. You know, and then the last 10 minutes is maybe like a tactical training that's working for you, like one thing that you're doing that's kind of working for you. And then, since I'm also the producer of this event, I have like the list of the 20 people. I'm like, you can't do follow-up. We already have follow-up. Can you do something else? So I figure out, and then also too, I have a one-on-one phone call with every single speaker, which takes a long time. I say, what's the challenge? And so I would say half of the people had that their challenge wasn't good enough. I'm like, really? I'm like, you have something better than that. And then so a few people like I had to dig. I'm like, I'm just like, that's not a challenge. I'm like, and then like some people actually shared some stuff that I'd never even heard. There was 2 people who shared stuff even with me, and I'm really close to all of them. Like they usually very like open with me, but 2 of them like one person was like, I only shared this with my fiance.
Whoa.
I haven't even shared. So they actually had, and I said, hey, like, if you don't feel comfortable sharing this on stage, I totally understand. But she's like, I actually need to have a conversation with my mom and my grandma first before I share this, because I haven't even told anybody yet. And I said, I was like, hey, I had so much empathy. And I was like, if you don't want to share this, like totally cool. But I really, really think it's got to impact so many people, because people think you're like this perfect person. And if you can share this, it'll like bring them like you down to their level. And they're like, wow, like if this person can do it, I can do it. And that's like a big belief that I want to give 100%. Like brand new people. So she had the conversation, and that person I think had like one of the best like standing ovations,
Wow.
I even like cried. I was like, bro, like I'm not a crier during movies, or like, but I was like, wow, it was so like vulnerable and like real. And I'm like, oh my gosh, so.
But it's memorable.
Yeah.
And that's the key of giving a great keynote, is be memorable. It's funny because it's when I was kind of designing my first time on GoPro, right? First time Eric had invited me, 2018. I'd like kind of had a different kind of nervousness, because when you speak at events, your own events, it's kind of like on you. But when it's on someone else's event, like you have to do the exact time they say. You've got to respect the rules. It's all these different kind of things. And I remember him saying, I'd mapped it all out and I'd got all of it done. And he said, "Are you going to be memorable?" That was the only thing he said. "Are you going to be memorable?" I said, "Heck yeah." I still have people today, 5 years after that event, come to me and say, I've trained on what you talked about with the left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot.
I did that
right?
like a couple minutes ago.
Yeah,
like a couple days ago. I talked to someone about that.
So like left foot, right foot. I still use that today. And that's the thing that I remember from 2018 GoPro. And cool. It's so funny because if you share a story, again, biggest challenge, or you're super vulnerable, you just will be memorable. Yeah. And it's funny, you mentioned an emotion. And I just want to talk about this for a minute, because when I was in the womb in the room in 1987, before I was born, mum and dad sat there watching their first presentation. My dad said he had the emotion and turned to my mum, his wife, Julie, big shout out to you, mum, love you, right? And turned around to her and said, if they can do it, so can I. And a lot of people are not creating that space because they're not having in-person events. Because online, it's not, oh, if she can do it, so can I, because we're seeing the best version. It's the opposite. Oh, if I have to be like her to win, I'll never win. So we have to go back to the in-person. We have to go back to the in-person events. We have to go big on them to be able to create that emotion. So I loved it. I love talking to you, because it's not like just another social media conversation. You're 33. You think like it's just all Instagram and TikTok, and your team are crushing it on social media.
Well, I think I always say, like, even at my events, I'm like, speed comes from online.
Yeah.
But stickiness and leadership and residual comes from events.
Yeah.
You need both.
It's the glue, right?
Yeah. Like all my guys who grow the fastest in girls, like they're on Instagram and TikTok crushing it. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, if you want real residual income, that's got to come from leaders. And leaders are only born at events.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about this for a minute, because a lot of people are listening, probably thinking like, oh, but people keep saying my product's too expensive, and they're selling a $50 product. They're selling a $100 product. Guys, Colten sells
our lowest ticket's like $5K.
$5,000 entry product.
Yeah, but 12K to 5K. Yeah.
5K to 12, and it's worth every single penny. Like, it's awesome. But how much of a challenge is that in the organization for the people who are trying to get like started, like them trying to, they're kind of in the business, they love the idea of the product, but now they got to go and become salespeople, because you can't fluke a $5,000 sale, right? How is that like conversation? Is it like a mainly mindset thing? Is it like a skill set thing? Because you've got people all over the world now who are selling machines like cookies. Which is nuts.
And it's crazy too, because like our company, it's really interesting. A lot of people from the outside in, they think that like, oh, like Colten's, Colten's white. Colten lives in California next to LA, right? His demographic is so different than mine. Like, he doesn't know my team, my demographic. We're poor. I'm like, bro, all of our people are poor. I was living in a garage, you know, and some of the poorest countries in the world actually do the best in our company.
Yeah, for sure.
It is so weird. Like, one of the fastest growing, India. We have India, we have Indonesia, we have the Philippines. I'm like, and I was like, what the heck, Singapore? I'm like,
$5,000.
like, these people don't, like, I remember I saw a photo, right? I don't want to describe our product, but basically, I was just like, our product needs to have an electrical socket, right? To work. And this one customer, they bought a generator. And there's some other stuff they bought, but if I say it, to give away our product, right? And I was just like, I'll just say it, right? We're in the water industry, right? And he actually bought a water pump because he didn't have running water. So there's a customer he bought a water pump, he bought a generator, and I was just like, I'm thinking small. Like, I'm thinking small, man. Like, this guy doesn't have electricity, he doesn't have running water, yet he's still a customer of our product now, and he probably spent like $4 or $5K on the product.
There are people going, I can't buy your weight loss product because I don't have a blender.
Yeah. So I think number one, it's a mindset thing. Number two, just to help people understand, something I like to just say is, you know, like, how did you buy your car? Like, the car you drove us in, like, how did you buy it?
Yeah,
did you pay for it in full, or did you? Okay.
And
So how does the average person who drives a Range Rover, how do they buy it? Do they pay it in cash? Okay, they have a payment plan.
Payment plan, right? Break it down.
So we have payment plans, and you know, that's the one thing. So obviously, everybody we have a payment plans for most countries, and they're all in a way that people can figure it out. But I also think, like, we've had so many people who, like, for me, who are broken. Most of our top leaders, I would say 80% of our top people who make over 6 figures, when you probably have like 40 or 50 people making over 6 figures on my team, I would say 80% couldn't afford it and had to do a payment plan and had bad credit score and weren't in the best living situation, and they're doing really, really well.
Yeah. It's
so,
incredible.
but I also think, like, our team, we train people. You know, we train people really well. I mean, just a good example, like, we have 2 to 3 training calls a day for our team that they can plug into, and all of our team, and we're just big believers in, like, the best trained team like wins, and we want to give people scripts. And I think, you know, it started off with, like, the Colten show, where I had to kind of be the pioneer,
right?
And then I showed so much of, like, how I closed a sale, like my questions I ask, my ways of overcoming things, the flashcards I recommend that you have to have objections. So it's not like just like, oh yeah, go sell. It's like, no, here's a presentation, here's the videos, here are actually recorded closing calls that we have that you can actually listen to, like 8 hours. So it's like, oh, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's not an accidental sale, obviously, but I think we have so many resources that as long as they plug in, like, they always win.
And it's funny because, like, I always believe that there's 3 parts to a great way to make money, especially on social media, is hook, story, offer. Right? And I got that from, like, the Russell Brunson framework. And the hook is grabbing someone's attention. The best story you can give in a social media piece of content is a demonstration. It's the best. Because as soon as someone knows exactly how to use it and whether they can implement it in their life or not, they buy it. And then the offer is obviously a call to action. Hey, comment here, message me. And you guys have created and come up with, and I know it's been around the company for a long time as well, a very easy to digest, no-brainer magic trick, which you guys need to be making a note of. If you can kind of come up with a magic trick.
Cutco had the penny. Have you seen that one? Like, the knife when they could cut a penny? Yeah.
Exactly. So you have this demonstration, and if you learn the demonstration, you're going to make sales.
Yeah.
If you can put someone in front of you and do the demonstration, you will make a sale.
Yeah.
So I think for people out there, they need to learn how to demonstrate the product. Oh, but it's easy. Great. Like, it's so easy, I don't need to demonstrate it. Great, demonstrate it. I wake up in the morning, I go to the fridge, I get a glass of water, I tear the paper off my sachet, I pour it in, I stir it up, I drink it. Yeah, but I don't need to demonstrate that. Yes, you do. You have to demonstrate flipping everything. You know what a house is, but you still have to go and view it. You still have to demonstrate yourself living in it. So I love also what you said here. You talked about being a man on a mission. And I feel like there are stages. There's man on a mission first, then team mission, to be able to help people have their own missions. What do you feel if you had to, by the way, guys, like, we don't arrange this. I've not given Colten any any tips of what we're talking about.
Not
It's
even
it's a
hints on the drive here.
Like zero.
Not
We
even
didn't
hint.
even talk about it in the drive here, right? Which is nuts.
Yeah.
Do you feel that you have a team mission? Do you feel that like the team is on a mission? Do you feel like there's going to be, you said there's 40, 50 people making six-figure income. Do you think there's going to be it? Do you feel that you're on a mission to have 1,000 people making six figures? Do you feel like you're on a mission to have 1,000 people become $1 million income, like become millionaires from the business?
100%. Yeah, we already have a girl who's actually really close. Like, I'm doing over $1 million a year. You know, me and my wife are, and we have another girl who's about to. I think she might have already passed that too. They're just growing. Like our team sales are always like that. And but yeah, it's funny you say that because like I think, you know, your first goal gets you like the first part, and like you kind of like change like why am I doing this? So, like obviously my first goal in the very very beginning, you know, was, you know, I kind of told you, but was also to prove my biggest critic wrong.
Yes, I love it.
It was a family member. I was really close with them, and they were just so negative at like, you know, they're so negative. I'm like, how much do they make? 180 a year. And within my second year, I made more than them at 24, 25 years old. And I was like, I am about to prove them wrong. You know what I mean? But then after I proved them wrong, like that was like, I was like actually looking back, I was so grateful they gave me that, because like it gave me that extra motivation to do it quickly. But then after that happened, I didn't have a lot of motivation, and I had to kind of go internally and just figure it out. But I really feel like something that really drives me was, you know, in my childhood, my parents got divorced when I was like 11. And it was like so difficult for like me and my sister. There was, and with like, and then my mom moved to Florida, and I have a big separation, you know, so like I didn't really grow up with my sister. I was kind of like an only child because I didn't like live with my sister after 13 years old, and I'm 5 years older. So it was kind of like, and my mom became more of like an aunt, a distant aunt, because I didn't really see them. So it was just, and there was just a lot of court stuff. So I just became a big believer that I never want to get divorced, right? And I also like looked up statistics of divorce. The number one reason of divorce is actually like money.
Money. It's crazy, isn't it?
Right? And I believe, you know, like we weren't like on the streets poor, but both my parents are very hardworking. There was very like little time for family, and we didn't have an abundance of money. And I just believe like if there was more money, less stress, more time freedom, it just makes it, you know, now that you have kids, like, you know, like it's just way easier to enjoy and have less stress, right? So I think that has always been a big catalyst of mine, is like not getting divorced. And then honestly, like I remember I have it like on my whiteboard that like I think that there's like other families, and I just like visualize like the little Colten they have in like their family. I'm like, I really just try to provide this like environment where I wish like my dad was plugged into a team when he was in his 20s and 30s like mine. You know, I get like a little emotional, but
yeah, I know, but I've been the kid, bro.
Yeah, so I'm just like, man, if my parents were plugged into like our team, like I don't think they would have got divorced.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like,
so you could the mission of the overall team could literally save lives.
Yeah,
in such a way, save families, generations, not just from an income perspective, but also from, I mean, yeah, you don't have to. I think a lot of the people listening will be able to relate to that. Yeah. And I think when the mission is so big, the commission takes care of itself.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many calls that I even have with like our top leaders about like marriage and like so many things that are like outside of the business. And like, and I know a lot of like, because I've said this before on like calls, and a lot of the people are like we're that family cult, and like literally like you know who like we are, like you're impacting like our family, like your name's discussed at the dinner table. Like if it wasn't for Colten and Priscilla, like our family wouldn't be where we're at. You know what I mean? Our family, now we literally have like probably like maybe 20 people who've like moved into our area just to like build community with us. Like they want to go to church with us. They want to, you know, do life together. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like we don't even, some people we tell them because they're top leaders, but some people like aren't even top leaders. And they're like, I just want to go to church with them and like hang out with them on Sunday. Yeah. And we're totally like, cool, like come, you know, hang out with us, you know? So we love to just like help people.
Shout out to Priscilla as well.
Yeah.
Shout out.
She's at home with our two little ones right now.
Like, so, we were saying in the car before, like the women are just, they blow our minds.
Yeah.
Like this is easy work. Recording podcasts in Dubai is like, oh yeah, the women in our lives are like just raising future legends. Mate, what's something that you could give as an assignment to the people tuning in for them to either improve the level of their mindset or to become more productive or to get something moving? What's something that you could share with them? That
So mindset wise, I remember I actually interviewed all of my 6-figure earners like a few years ago, and I asked them like, hey, like how many hours a day do you listen to some type of personal development, or you're plugged into some type of training or something? And it was really interesting. Out of like, I think there would be like 20 back then, the average was 2 hours a day. And I was like, really? But I'm like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you have to incorporate positivity in your mind for you to be able to kind of fill your cup up so you can empty it out. So the first thing you're doing is if you feel like you're having a lack of motivation, 2 hours a day. And you can easily do that. If you think about it, like what I used to do, I would wake up, motivation. So I'd have headphones on, or if my kids are in the room, I make sure, it's stuff that I would want them to listen to while I'm making them breakfast. I'm listening to it while I'm doing my laundry, while I'm taking a shower, while I'm brushing my teeth, while I'm driving, all doing dishes, like laundry, like all those things. I don't do a lot of those things. Like I don't do laundry anymore, but we have a service for that. But I still make my breakfast and I eat with my daughter, and all those little extra time is easily 2 hours a day for most people.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's the first thing with mindset. And I think for actionable steps, I think the thing that most people lack who aren't making sales is they don't show their face on camera on social media. So it's just an easy assignment that we have always given people. We call it the Grateful 8. 8 days in a row, you can whatever you're comfortable. It can be a live, it can be a story, it can be a post, but show your face and for 8 days say one thing you're grateful for, and let people know you're doing a challenge, Grateful 8, have people do it with you. And there's so many like ways to kind of add on some cool stuff, but I just want you to talk to the camera. And I think everybody can find something grateful for, just one. Yeah. It can be 5 seconds, but if you can get used to every day showing your face on camera and talking to the camera, like that's when you're going to become successful. Like everybody who has the biggest brand, they're talking to the camera.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. We did that with our community after you sharing this with me a couple of months ago, 3 months ago. We did that with our community, and there are still people doing it, and they're on like day 74, 75,
amazing.
Because they just love it. They're like, they're really starting to, they're not just getting the skill of the camera, but they're getting so many people messaging them saying, what are you grateful for today, before they've even posted it, because they've got so obsessed with like tuning into that person.
And you attract a good person.
Yeah,
because you attract grateful people now, and you repel people.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer law of attraction is like 10x on social media.
Yeah.
You post something, you repel people, and you attract whoever you're talking about.
Yeah, be polarized. That's what Grant Cardone and Gary Vee and all these guys are doing as well, and they're crushing it. So, mate, how do people find you on social media? What's the best place for them to go follow you on Instagram?
Yeah, it's at Colten.Echave. So COLTEN.ECHAVE.
It's amazing. We'll get it so it kind of pops up here so you can screenshot it. Make sure you go and follow Colten. Mate, you're amazing. I really appreciate not just you as a person, not just you as a friend, but as a leader in the network marketing space, because we definitely need more Coltens out there in the world, little Coltens out there as well, and many versions of you that you're obviously having an impact on. So thanks so much for taking your time out of your day, and I'll catch you up soon.
Yeah, it was fun.
All right, guys. So if you got value from this, do me a massive favor. Take a screenshot of any part of this video, post it onto your Instagram stories, tag me at Fraser Brooks Online and at Colten.Echave.
That was perfect.
Come on. And let us know in the comments down below somewhere the value that you got, the bingo moment that you took, and also what action you're going to be taking as well. And we'll see you next time. All right. Big love. Bye-bye.